kindle the fire in us for research. The Jain College Vasvi campus is proud to organize a 5-day virtual workshop on the topic From Writing to Publishing, an academic writing research workshop, which was, we felt, the need of the hour for the budding research scholars and the new joinees as well, on the areas to actually group on the areas of how to express the ideas accordingly, which journal to go for publishing, what areas to choose for their research. So it is the focus on them. I welcome all the participants to this session of day one, where we have our guest, Dr. Venkatesh P., who is the Associate Professor at the Mysore University. We welcome you, sir, on behalf of the college and the management.
Thank you.
I also welcome our beloved principal, our pillar of support, Dr. Naveen Kumar CM, who has backed us up in all the endeavors that we have taken up till today. To introduce Dr. Naveen Kumar CM to the fraternity, he is an MA holder in economics, PhD holder in economics, and he has also tried his hand in obtaining the degree of LLB. And he is a net SLET cleared candidate, and he has he has awarded the doctorate degree in economics from Bangalore University. He has authored managerial economics, business economics, goods and services tax, and personality development books for the undergraduate programs. Sir started teaching from 1999, and he is teaching subjects like macroeconomics, managerial economics, developmental economics, general economics for CPT. He has published articles and participated in national and state level conferences. He has worked as the head of the department of BBM wing, affiliated to the Bangalore University. Under his leadership, Rotaract Club of Jain College was awarded the Presidential Citation Award for the year 2014 and 15. And this award is the highest recognition award to a Rotaract Club in the world by the Rotary President for its tremendous work for social cause. Sir has also served as the Vice Principal of Bangalore University Division of Jain College, Jayanagar. And presently now he is heading Jain College Vasvi campus section of Bangalore City University. And it's my pleasure to welcome Sir to this conference for a welcome note. Sir, over to you.
Thank you, Akila Madam, for that wonderful introduction of mine. First of all, let me welcome Dr. Venkatesh sir, and thank you for accepting our invitation to be the resource person for this wonderful national level virtual workshop on a very apt topic, where it's a need of the hour what Akila Madam actually presented. My appreciation to the Department of English, Professor Akila, Ushavian, Katyayani, for this wonderful initiative what you people have taken to bring in a platform for all the literature students. I call them as students, for all the literature students to get into the world of research. And also my appreciation to the Department of English for selecting the right resource person for the right caption, whether you call it as a literature review, whether you call it as what are the apt areas of research. So my appreciation to all. And of course, the coming 5 days, even I'm also eagerly waiting, where it will give an insight to all the participants. I think there are more than 136 participants on virtual platform, eagerly waiting to identify what are the areas of research, especially in literature. In fact, if you go with the research article or publication, precisely speaking, most of the publication, they think it comes from commerce. Most of the publication comes from humanities. But yes, there is a huge platform which can also be assessed even for a literature faculties as well. And on this note, I'm sure all the resource persons who have agreed our invitation will give us more insight on it, and it will definitely help all the faculties to publish research paper, which is the need of the hour, especially in higher education institution, because most of the institutions going for NAC, it becomes more or less a primary requisite for a higher educational institution to showcase their quality of teachers who are teaching the subjects. So on this note, I'm sure this 5 days will be a brainstorming session, which helps all the participants to ensure that what are the ways and means in terms of publication. Thank you so much, Akila Madam, and the entire team. And thank you once again, Dr. Venkatesh sir, for taking your precious time to be a part of this virtual academic deliberation. And I'm sure it's going to have a very insightful session for next 5 days. Thank you so much. Over to Akila Madam. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that encouraging words. We always seek further also. So moving forward, research is formalized curiosity. It is poking and prying with a purpose. So we have a purpose here, we have the right person here, and the ambience. I request Professor Katyayani, Department of English, to introduce our resource person for day one, Dr. Venkatesh P. Over to you, ma'am.
Good evening. Good evening, all the scholars. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, Dr. Venkatesh Puttaya, who is going to talk about a review of literature in English research. This is a subject in which we are deeply interested and a main thrust for the research scholars. Dr. Venkatesh Puttaya is an Associate Professor of English at Maharaja's College, University of Mysore. He has 2 decades of teaching experience, and he has so far guided 7 research scholars to their PhD degree in English at the University of Mysore. Dr. Venkatesh Puttaya is a gold medalist at the Mysore University. He won the prestigious Shastri Indo-Canadian Fellowship and pursued his doctoral research at the University of Canada in 1999 to 2000. He specializes in 20th century and contemporary literatures and has published close to 20 research articles in these areas. Some of his publications are in Scopus listed journals. He has edited the book Cosmopolitanism in Contemporary Fiction. Sir also has been invited as a resource person for various research refresher courses and short-term courses. He has published 25 and more articles in national and international journals. He has completed a project by tribal development through education in Karnataka by CIIL, that is Central Institute of Indian Languages, Mysore, in the year 2002. Dr. Venkatesh Puttaya is also a board of memberships for BOS, Mysore University, BOE, Karnataka State Music University, and many other such memberships. Institution membership, Indian Association for Commonwealth Literature and Language Studies, New Delhi, IACLA Studies, IACS, Vadodara. He is a member of Mysore Film Society, Mysore. So I take it a great pleasure to introduce Dr. Puttaya. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. Puttaya. Sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, madam. And then I just want to add one more detail to my introduction.
Yes,
I
sir.
was part of Jain community for 2 years in the year 2004 and 5.
Yes.
I taught at Jain College, JC campus for
JC
2
Road
years.
campus.
So,
Yes.
and I was part of English department, and Professor Katyayani was my colleague. And then I remember the wonderful time that I had teaching at the Jain College, and I'm extremely happy today to be back talking to my colleagues and
Thank you, sir.
many research scholars and professors who have come here to participate today. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. And now we heard what research is from Professor Akila briefly, that it is prying and then it is systematic. Yes, that is what it is. I'm going to begin by briefly explaining the topic of my discussion today. It may look straightforward, review of literature in English research. However, it requires some explanation. I could have presumed that it is clear and self-explanatory, but one thing in research that I have learned is presumption is bad. Okay, now let us start with that. Now, research, as we understand, is a systematic investigation with an aim to find something or assist in solving something or analyzing something. Okay, and English research is different from scientific research, also research in social sciences. How is it different is one thing that we are going to look at in the course of my talk today. English research basically is descriptive research. It is not empirical research. It is not based on survey, unless it is language ELT, okay, English language teaching, which sometimes is carried out through survey method. So we take up writers or we take up texts and we analyze them systematically. Okay, that is important, diligently. Otherwise, it won't be research. Research means a systematic approach to a subject. Okay, a diligent approach to a subject. Now, what do? We take up some writers, all right, some texts, all right, and then we analyze, we describe, we discuss, we theorize, all right. Now, we can't start in vacuum, okay? I'm trying to address the central part of my topic, review of literature or literature review, okay? You can say it either way. Now, we can't start our research in vacuum, okay? Our research is always built on existing research. And that is where is the importance of literature review. Okay. Now, in carrying out literature review, what we do is we take stock of research that's being done in the area we have chosen to study, and then we are going to figure how we are going to proceed from that point. If somebody, let us say it is 100-meter distance. If somebody has traveled already some 60 meters, our task is to travel further, few meters at least. Okay, but then we have to know how they have traveled that 60 meters. Okay, now, when we say something, it has to provide a context. Okay, we can't simply say it is a good one, it is a complex thing, or it is a wonderful thing. That is not research language. That won't appear in research articles, that kind of statement, because that is only a value judgment. That is okay when we are talking with friends. We can say this is terrific, this is wonderful. In research, we have to develop some argument, some debate, some discussion. Okay, I'll begin by sharing something. Okay, a PDF cartoon actually. Okay. Just a moment. Okay. Yeah, here we go. I hope you see the cartoon. If you don't, please let me know. Okay, this technology is something that can stump us sometimes. Okay, your screen share, it is there. Okay, somebody is saying here, the characters in the film are very complex. Okay, that is just a statement. And your audience would wonder. In this case, if you're writing, your readers would wonder, why is he saying this to me? Like, is there any point in saying such a thing? Okay, and then you can see their reactions there. On the other hand, if the same thing is expressed here in this way, some say that the characters in the film are sexist stereotypes. In fact, however, the characters in the film are very complex. Then that arouses your listener's interest. They think, okay, there is an established notion and somebody is contesting that and somebody is going to give us an alternative point of view. That is what your readers will understand when you say this. So when we start our research, it is important to keep in mind we are not simply making statements, okay, that are obvious to people, but then we are assessing, analyzing, describing something, and then offering our point of view. Okay, these things are important. Okay, now, yes. Now we have to start in literature review, our thesis. We have to start with what others have said. Okay, that actually is a good starting point. I said we can't start in vacuum. Okay, and then, yeah, now we have some notions of research. One of the notions is that original. Okay, research has to be original. It should not be repetition. That is okay. But then absolutely original is a problem. All right. Now we build on something, okay, of what others have said already. Okay. And then we have to take stock of that and say our own after that. Okay. Now, to recognize what people have said before you, okay, in your area of research, how do we find that? Okay, easiest way is to Google, okay, and then that is only a starting point. Then to go to Shodh Ganga to know what is happening in the Indian scenario. Then, of course, to go to JSTOR and Project News to know what is happening worldwide in your field of research. Okay, and then suppose you're working on images in Macbeth. Okay, then you have to be specific when you search. You can't simply say articles on William Shakespeare. Okay, there is an ocean of articles, and then one lifetime is not enough to sort them. So you have to be specific, not just in giving the proper words in your search, okay, the key terms in your search, also in choosing your subject. Okay, now we have heard that we have to be specific. Our research should look focused. Okay, these are critical things, very important things. And now let me come back to my example of Macbeth images. Okay, as we know, I'm taking some very familiar examples. Okay. Now, as we know, there is bird imagery, there is blood imagery, and there is sleep imagery in Macbeth. And how these things work, like one can choose just one of these three for a research article. And then you have to specify that when you go to JSTOR and search. And then you will get people who have worked in that area. Okay. Otherwise, you see people from A.C. Bradley to Wilson Knight to Coleridge to Alan Seinfeld to Harold Bloom. So many have worked on Shakespeare. We would be lost. Okay. So it would be important to prune the research that's taken place before in our area, and then a lot of intelligence is required what you select and what you select and what you leave out. Okay, it's worthwhile to spend some time on that. Okay, now next one, our research, we have to remember, is a kind of conversation. We are entering a conversation. Okay, and when we enter conversation, the conversation has already begun. It is an ongoing conversation. We enter at some point and we are there for some time and we leave it after some point. And then we carry forward the conversation that's been going on. It takes us a little time till we understand what people are talking. Like, I'm just metaphorically describing research as conversation. And then we say something, and then people may carry forward what we say after we leave. So that is our role in research. Okay. And then why is it important to refer to people who have worked in our field? You may wonder, why can't we just start off by saying, I want to do this? For the simple reason, there's the danger of repeating somebody's work, okay, unintentionally. For that, it is better to see what has been done already. And then we also benefit a great deal in the sense, it saves a lot of time. Okay, if we know what's already done and then to move forward from that point, okay, it is perhaps more sensible than repeating all over again what somebody else has said. Okay, so now when we enter this conversation, when we take stock of research that's done till this point, it is important how we look at that. Okay, I'll mention two ways people look at that. One side of people look at previous research with great disdain. Okay, they say that is hopeless, nothing. Okay, nothing important has been said at all in this area. Another set of people look at the existing research in the field with great reverence. Okay, both these positions are not really very useful to us. We have to take a balanced view of what's being done and what is left for us to say. Now the thing here is to prevent ourselves from looking at existing research with disdain, we have to really enter into the shoes of those who have done that. We have to understand from what position they are talking, where their ideas are coming from in what context. Okay, it requires a lot of work, patience, okay, understanding, all that. Yeah, let me mention one thing here. research is hard work. Okay, it is not exciting in the same way reading or teaching is. It is exciting, however, in a different way. And research is hard work, and research is also a process. And it is a process that is never ending. Okay, if you start your research, that is something you carry with you throughout. And many people are forced now to have their research degrees for promotions, this, that. All that is one side of the story. But then anyway, as you are in research, it is best that if you get the best, it is better that if you get the best out of this. Okay, now let us get back here. Now to, I said to prevent all our disdain for existing research, we have to really try and enter the shoes of those who have researched before us, and to not get overawed by research that's already been done in our field. We need to develop some confidence that we can get by entering various forums like seminars, conferences, even trying to publish an article here, there, and all that. Okay, now see, whatever writing we do, even if it is letter to an editor, okay, we like those letters that take into consideration what has been done before. Okay, suppose somebody writes a letter to the newspaper editor about the bad roads in their area. Suppose they say, since when they're facing this problem, what has been done so far, what the mayor said, what the corporator said, and then what they expect. That is proper way of putting things. Okay, we do the same thing, but more systematically, more elaborately in our academic research. Okay, now let me share the next screen. Okay, then, okay. Okay. Now, okay. I want to tell you something. Now we have recipes for cooking, right? Are there recipes for writing? We may have wondered. Now, thankfully, there are recipes for writing. So what do recipes do, basically? They guide us to prepare something, to prepare some food. We don't call this a recipe in writing, in academic research. We, however, call this template. Okay, there are templates for review of literature. This one is template of templates, a very general broad template. I would like you to have a look at this for a minute, and then I'll get back to you. Like, just see how. So we need to fill up the blanks with whatever we think, whatever we are researching with that. In recent discussions of violence in cinema, for example, a controversial issue has been raised on censorship. On one hand, some argue that censorship is necessary. From this perspective, films will be cut severely by the censor board. On the other hand, however, others argue that censorship is bad for freedom of expression. In the words of Mr. X, then you quote something. One of the view's main proponents then quote what that person has said. According to this view, we realize censorship is necessary to guide impressionable young audiences, you can say. Like, I'm just filling the gap as I'm getting ideas. I'm not really thinking and doing it. Like, if you think and do, you can do a lot better. I'm just trying to fill the gaps there. In total, then the issue is whether censorship is right or wrong, or whether censorship is required or not. My own view is that censorship is required, but not a severe censorship, but not severe censorship, though I concede that. So it goes on like that. You see what happens when we have a template like this. This is literally, this is academic debate. What you notice here is there is respect for what somebody else is saying, okay? And then there is a tone that is adopted, that is necessary for discussion. It is not a quarreling tone, but it is weighing the options, weighing the two sides, okay? And then look how it begins in recent discussions, okay? There have been discussions, and then there is a topic, and then it goes on like that. So though I concede, I still maintain. Yeah, here I want to mention one thing, okay? The personal pronoun I, okay, which is shunned in Indian academic research. We are discouraged from using the personal pronoun I in our academic writing. However, it is not so bad, okay? It is not bad, in fact, at all. We can use. It may be a good thing to use, actually. But if your supervisor instructs, avoid that, you can avoid that. Though one can concede, though we concede, you can, instead of singular pronoun, you can use plural pronoun, though, or you can avoid pronoun totally, though it is possible to concede that, you can try like that. It can be still maintained. Instead of saying I still maintain, it can be still maintained, okay, that it is not so important, okay? You move like that, okay? I don't know if you find this interesting or tedious, but then let me tell you, we have to think of language the same way we think of things that are close to our heart, and only then we can find our way with language, okay? You know why some of us are so good with cricket statistics? Because we think of that. Why we are so good with the preferences of our favorite heroes and heroines, their hobbies, their habits, because we spend a lot of time on that, okay? If we are to spend a good deal of time on language, how an expression works, how it varies, how it changes, how it is carried forward, then of course we can find our way with language, through language, okay? Yeah, I hope this template of templates makes sense, okay? This is how we develop arguments, okay? Suppose we say this author says this author says that, that author says this. What is the point in that? That author said, so what? What are you making of that? Okay, now I'll stop this. Okay, now we have seen two kinds of writing. One writing where there are no quotations. Why is that? Why do you think that happens? Maybe the researcher is lazy to read anybody else, or maybe the researcher thinks he or she knows everything, no need to read anybody. Or maybe the researcher is afraid to read anything. Possible. On the other hand, other extreme, you have a researcher quoting endlessly, a writer after writer after writer. So the research paper is full of quotations. Why is this researcher doing such a thing? Maybe because the researcher lacks own ideas. Maybe because the researcher cannot build on the existing ideas. Any of this is possible. Okay, and both positions are extreme. Okay, not citing anybody, not quoting anybody, or just quoting somebody and not being able to say anything of our own. Okay, both perhaps are equally bad. Now, you may choose some writers, okay, like William Wordsworth or Charles Dickens, on who you will find a lot of material. Then there is immense scope to quote quite a lot. Then your challenge is to leave out whatever is unimportant, whatever is not absolutely important to you. So your choice would be, your task would be in leaving out. On the other hand, you choose somebody who is a fairly a new writer. And then there may not be enough material on the writer. What do you do then? Then you may have to go to reviews of the work. Okay. Reviews would definitely be there. Okay. If you're choosing some, let us say 10 novels, you would find at least 20, 30 reviews on those 10 novels. So that would be your starting point. There would be other challenges on the other hand. Suppose you are doing your research on oral literature, and then you have to examine various other kind of documents. Maybe you have to take a close look at new historicism and how research is carried out in that and all that. Now, I take a moment here to tell you what we do in English research, actually. Whether it is just writing a paper or writing a thesis. Okay. We take up writer that we like, that is very important. Okay. And then we take up areas that we understand, that is again very important. And then we study that deeply. Okay. And we note down our ideas and what others have said, all that, and then we build our arguments. Okay. Now, summarizing the ideas of others is very important. To summarize well, we have to get into their shoes. We talked about that. Now, after summarizing, there is one more thing that we need to learn: art of quoting. It is an art. Summarizing is also an art. Okay, it comes with practice. Okay, how you can summarize an 8-page article into 2 lines. Okay, we have to practice that. That is a different area. I won't get into that right now. Art of quoting, I mentioned that. Now, quoting, Gerard Graff says, I'm going to tell you about Gerard Graff and how important it is for us in literature review later. Okay, says is like making a sandwich. Okay, you know what you have in sandwich. You have all the stuff in the middle, and then you put your top layer, and then you put your bottom layer of bread of your choice. Okay, now, yes, of course. Now, coating is the stuff inside, and then it needs 2 layers. The top layer is how you introduce the quote. You have to introduce a quote when you're quoting somebody. And the bottom layer is your explanation. You have to explain the quote. Okay? And again, for this, there are 2 templates. And before I show you the template, let me tell you, please don't think to use template is being unoriginal. Okay? Now we have understood the importance of manuals in almost every field. Okay, what would we do without MLA handbook for writers of research papers? Okay, can't imagine. Okay, manual come in various ways, various forms. Okay, what would Indians do without their constitution? Okay, they're doing terrible things with constitution, even with constitution. And then can you imagine what would be our fate without constitution? And what would we do without traffic rules? Okay, all these guidelines, you call them guidelines, manual, constitution, whatever you like, but they're necessary and they're useful. Okay, they help us save a lot of time and they guide us in a direction where we can discover what we set out to discover. Okay, now I'll share with you the template that would help us introduce a quote. How to introduce a quote. Before quoting something, what do you say? Okay, here it is. Okay, just a moment. Yeah, templates for introducing quotations. Now, there are so many ways you can say. X is somebody's name. States, not all steroids should be banned from sports. Okay, one, full length. The other ones, the quotations are left blank. Any quotation it could be. As the prominent philosopher X puts it, another way of saying. According to X, third way of saying. X himself writes, fourth way of saying. In her book, X maintains that. Title of the book and then quotation. Writing in the journal commentary, X complains that. Okay, or in X's view, or X agrees when she writes, or X disagrees when he writes. X complicates matters further when she writes. There are so many ways we can introduce a quotation. If you introduce like this, and then it is also important, let me mention here, to bring in some variety to our writing. Okay, instead of repeating same kind of phrases, same kind of sentences, let us go for different kinds that could mean the same things. I'll give you a set of words later. Okay, when we agree, what are the words that we have to use? When we disagree, what are the words that we can use? When we neither agree nor disagree, how can we maneuver that situation? All these things. Okay, I hope this makes sense. Okay, and then yeah, now after introducing the quotation, you quote. Now you know when you quote, if it is under 4 lines, it can be part of your text, running text, that is, and if it is more than 4 lines, it has to be indented. Yeah, I hope you all have with you Modern Language, excuse me, Modern Language Association's handbook. Okay, and then it's in the 9th edition now. It's something, perhaps the most useful book for those who are in English research. Okay, very important. And then, yeah, very important, but I see students, MLA Handbook for the Writers of Research Papers. Okay. Okay, I have here the 7th edition. The latest is 9th edition. 8th edition I have in my college, I think. Okay. I don't know if you see it in reverse or you can read it. I'm not sure. Okay, okay. And then like that, there are several other books. This is one more manual, the Little Brown Essential Handbook for Writers. Okay. I hope you can read that. I see it in reverse in my screen. I hope you are not seeing it in reverse. Do you see it in reverse? Can
No,
anyone?
sir. It's right. We can
Okay.
read it.
Okay, okay, great. Oh, all right. Now, yeah. Now, yes, these books are critical to us, but then they are not like storybooks. Okay. Okay, here is the book. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. This Little Brown is another. There are many manuals. Okay. This is the one. You have to follow the guidelines here. Okay. And then MLA Handbook for Writers of Research Papers. This is the most basic book. Okay. Now, but very important. If I say basic, I mean important. All right. Okay. I'll share the templates with you later, all of them. Okay. Now let us get on with our discussion. There is quite a bit more. There's quite a lot more actually that I want to share with you. Now, after introducing the, if it is more than 4 lines, you have to indent it. 1 line, 1 centimeter, 1 inch from this side, 1 inch from that. And then these are the things that we learn in MLA Handbook. MLA stands for Modern Language Association. Okay. Now let us move to the next template, which is after introducing the quotation, you have to explain the quotation. How do you explain? Let us see that. Let us see that. Okay. Okay, template for explaining. Okay. Okay, after the quotation, this is what you say. Basically, X is warning that the proposed solution will only make problems worse. Okay. Or you can say, in other words, X believes banning steroids could have implications in health services, in surgeries. Okay. Or you can say, in making this comment, X urges us to look at the medicinal value of steroids. For example, continuing with the train of thought that was provided in the earlier template. X is corroborating the age-old adage that, okay, then you put an adage or saying, don't, what do you say? Don't throw the baby with the bathwater. Okay. Then X's point is that we have to be thoughtful in using steroids. You can continue like that. The essence of X's argument is that steroids are harmful if they are used in professional sports, but then in hospitals and in surgeries, they may be essential, probably. Or whatever could be that writer's argument, you build on that. But these are the words, these are the starting blocks for you. Okay. Hope this makes sense. Hope you find this useful. Okay. Okay. Now review of literature. Yeah, I was talking to my colleague in economics. He has his presentation tomorrow. He says they have to review at least 30 writers. Thank you. 30 writers in review of literature. That is quite a lot. How are you going to talk about 30 articles or theses all put together though in your presentation? How can you introduce all of them? Like all of them won't be same, because if they are all same, they have plagiarized each other. That is the idea. But they are different, and to note their difference, to recognize the difference, and to move forward, carry forward your views, your thoughts. How do you do it? Okay. Now there is a template again. Now you talked about one person here, introducing the quote, explaining it. You thought about one, that is X. Now in review of literature template, you will be talking about 5-6 people in a paragraph. These writers said this, and then these two contradicted them. On the other hand, there was somebody else which corroborated this view. But in 20th century, those views are challenged this way, that way. Let me give you an example here of metaphysical poets. When they wrote fast, okay, they were not appreciated by their contemporaries. Like, for example, Dr. Samuel Johnson used the term metaphysical poets for them. He didn't use it complimentarily. It was a derogatory description. Okay, the description was derogatory. He said conflicting emotions are yoked together with violence. That is metaphysical poetry. But so nobody read metaphysical poets for 2 centuries, nearly 3 centuries, until Grierson came up with his edition of metaphysical poets. Okay, then after that, T.S. Eliot wrote his essay, Metaphysical Poets. Now, we are all reading them in our schools, colleges, universities. See, that is the history of metaphysical poets. That is the literary history, how they were derided, how they were neglected, and how they were discovered, and how they were appreciated, and how they continued to occupy our thoughts today, how we can relate to them, how we can connect with them today. Okay, though they are 350 years old, their revival of metaphysical poets, how it happened in 20th century. Okay, then that is what you do if you are taking up literary history as your area of research. By the way, literary history was my area of research. Okay, I worked on the poetry of Thomas Hardy and E.J. Pratt as precursors to modern poetry. Okay, as I was working on Hardy, he is a giant, and then again on his writing there is an ocean of literature. I had to be careful. So there is Michael Milgate who has written on Hardy, and then there is Sassoon who has written, D.H. Lawrence who has written, and then J. Hillis Miller has written. So many have written. Now I narrowed down what people have said about Hardy's poetry. Okay, F.R. Lewis has said big man, but then he has said very little. But then I had to take note of that. He has said this much. Then coming mainly to 20th century, who did he influence? Did he influence Eliot? Did he influence Pound? Because I was looking at him as a precursor to modern poetry. So to stay focused, I was looking at the conversations Eliot and Pound were having in their letters. What were they talking about Hardy? So yeah, did Pound say anything? Did Eliot say anything? Okay. So war poets, Wilfred Owen, Sassoon, and then Robert Graves, did they talk about Hardy? Were they influenced by him? So inquiry went in that direction. Okay, in the context of British poetry, in Canadian context, E.J. Pratt, that is a different scene. Okay, so we have to see where we go. Now, I mentioned Eliot and then Pound, what they say, war poets, this, that. Similarly, about metaphysical poets, they are discussed this way, that way, and finally this way. So, in review of literature, that is what we are going to do. Okay, now I'll share a template for review of literature. All these templates are part of review of literature. Overall picture, big picture of review of literature. Okay, now, okay. Okay, template for literature review. Okay, now in addressing the question of, let us say, we are talking about, let us say, gender discrimination. Researchers have considered several explanations for injustices or biases in gender, in treating gender. X argues that gender discrimination has always been there in human societies, or it exists in animal kingdom or plant kingdom, whatever you can say. So the point here is X is there, Y is there, and Z is there. And then what X said, what Y said, and what Z said, all that, and what generally scholars are pointing out. And then finally, existing research on this presents convincing evidence. Okay. And then in sum, you can say, and then you can also add your own view. My own perception of this is that. That is how you bring in. Okay. This is a template for review of literature. So you do review of literature and all that. And after that, what is important is your analysis. Okay. Okay. I'll come to that. Okay. I'll just come to that, and I'll. So you say in review of literature, you say the prior literature review indicates. Let me read an example of literature review to you. Okay. Some people may associate sacrificing hours of sleep with being studious, but the reality is that sleep deprivation can hurt your cognitive functioning without your being aware of it. Example within bracket, becoming worse at paying attention and remembering things. Then you quote who are the people who have carried out that research. Goyal, Rao, Doomer, and Dinges, 2009, semicolon. Pilcher and Walters, 1997. So that is your source to say that. Sleep, then you continue. Sleep affects learning and memory by organizing and consolidating memories from the day. So people who have said this, Deckenman and Bond, 2010. Rash and Bond, 2013. Which can lead to better problem-solving ability and creativity. Okay, that enough sleep can lead to creativity. So these ideas are shared by Rose, Wagner, and Coley in 2013. So that is how they do. This is, of course, an example from scientific research. Okay, and then yeah. You'll find many examples. I'll share with you the title of the book where you can find many examples of literature reviews in literature, in literary research, English literature research. Okay. Now, after this template 4, I want to give you like the. Okay. Okay. Not paper 7, that is 7th edition, but you get at least 8th edition or 9th edition. 8th edition I have left in my cupboard at college, and 9th edition I still only have a soft copy. Okay. Okay. Now, the thing is, I want to draw your attention to something. Okay. The most difficult parts of speech for all of us in English writing, perhaps, is verb, okay, because it has 4 tenses, 3 tenses, I'm sorry. And then each of these 3 tenses exist in 4 different forms, and then, yeah, it's mind-boggling, so confusing. Yeah. Okay. So you may be wondering whether to write in past tense or in present tense academic research. It is always better to keep it to one tense, that is usually present tense. That is what we write, simple present tense. The author says, writes, okay? If we are referring to something that happened long back, we can say the author has said, okay? Otherwise, yeah, these 2 forms of present tense are fine. Now, I want to show you a set of verbs that we need to talk about the area that we are discussing, the text that we are discussing, the writers that we are discussing. We need to have a set of verbs, okay? And then I'll give you those list of verbs. And when you agree with somebody, what verbs do you use? When you disagree, what verbs do you use? Like there is a list. Let us look at that. Okay. And then list of verbs. Here we go. Yeah. When the author is neutral, when you are reviewing somebody and the author you are reviewing, when you are quoting somebody, when you find the author is neutral, you use these verbs. Okay. The author comments, the author describes, Mr. X explains, illustrates, mentions, notes, observes, points out, records, relates, reports, says, sees, thinks, writes. These are all neutral. So when the author is inferring something or suggesting something, you can say analyzes, asks, assesses, believes, concludes, considers, finds, predicts, proposes. When the author is arguing, claims, contends, defends, disagrees. When the author agrees, accepts, admits, agrees, concedes. Author is uneasy or disparaging, belittles, bemoans, complains, condemns. Yeah. If you have this many words to describe a thing, you can describe it aptly. Okay? Yeah, if we have more number of words to describe various kinds of actions, then we can be precise in our description. Okay. For example, let me give you this example. Somebody is walking, that is a common word, and somebody is walking lazily, slowly. You can say that in one word, strolling or ambling. Okay, somebody walks out of the room angrily. If you don't have the exact word, you have to say she walked out of the room angrily. But then if you have the exact word, you can say she stormed out of the room. Okay, now it is like that in research too, using precise verbs to talk about the authors, when they agree, when they disagree. Okay, we know. Okay, all right. Now I want to give at least 15 minutes for discussion, but before that, let me share something very interesting. So works cited, we all struggle. Okay, there is one more list of words that I want to give you. I did not put that in PDF, but then after this list, I'll share just a couple of important books with you, and then we'll have our session open for questions and answers. Okay, there is commonly used transition expressions. Okay, when you move from one paragraph to another paragraph, when you move from one sentence to another, there are a set of commonly used transitions. They are called transitions. You can just Google this and you will find them. Okay, it's not a big deal. But then to have that urge, to have that interest, to have that motivation is critical. Okay, a lot of research students get all the important books. Okay, but then they don't read, which is, yeah, all right. That should not happen. Now that is only the first part of research. Okay, getting your books, and then your task starts. Now, commonly used transitions. Transitions are words that we use to move from one idea to another. Okay. Now, here, when you want to add something, you use also, and, besides, furthermore, in addition, in fact, indeed, moreover, so too. Okay, these are the words that you use to add something to what the author has added. When you want to elaborate, you say actually, or by extension, or in short, to put it another way, to put it bluntly, to put it succinctly, or ultimately, or you can say in other words. Okay, Now, when you want to give an example, you have to say, for instance, or you have to say as an illustration, or you have to say, for example, or you can say the case in point. Okay. And then cause and effect. If you want to explain, you have to say accordingly, or as a result, or consequently, or hence, therefore, it follows, since. These are some of the expressions. So transitional expressions are very important. You have to have a handful of those transition expressions. Okay, they lead you from one thought to another. They connect two sentences together. They connect two paragraphs together. Well, we need to have a set of those. So can we find all this in one book? Yes, of course. Okay, most of these things that I've used today and all this, you will find in one book. And this is the book. Okay, this is the book. Okay, I'll show that. Okay, I'll show you that. I'll share that book with you, and then, okay, just a moment, please. Here is your book. Okay, I find it a very, very useful book, the most wonderful book for literature review. Okay, it doesn't tell you about kinds of research, qualitative research and descriptive research and other things, but it tells you how to quote somebody, how to introduce quotations. Okay, most of the things. This is some 400 or 450 rupees. You get it on Amazon. Okay, very, very useful book. But then it requires your attention, your total application to really get what the author is saying. And then you have to keep practicing as you read this. Okay, it is like learning to ride a bicycle. Okay, you have to ride the bicycle, you have to understand the wheel, you have to understand the pedal and all that, but you still have to ride the bicycle. Okay, these things are very important. And yeah, that was the last slide I wanted to share. And then there are a few things, like there are many manuals. Okay, let me just share this. This is another Macmillan writer. Okay, this is another manual for writing. It is quite big. Okay, and then it has on grammar, this, that, but then they're quite useful. Similarly, you have this. Okay, New York Public Library Writer's Guide to Style and Manual, Style and Usage. Wonderful. These are terrific books, but then they remain books if we don't use them. Okay. On one light note, I want to end my talk, and then we'll have a few minutes for our discussion. Okay. There is one graphic novel I would like you to read. Those of you, most of you, I'm sure you have done your PhD already, and then some of you may be pursuing your PhD now, or some of you want to pursue later. But then there is one novel, graphic novel on research. Okay, it's called Notes on a Thesis. Okay, Notes on a Thesis. See, it is a comic book. Okay, about a young girl who wants to do her PhD on Kafka. Okay, it is delightful, and also real passionate research. It will go through a crisis. Okay, you may be passionate, you may have a good guide or some or the other difficulty. It is because it is 4 years long, and then, but it makes you tough. You learn so much. This is one wonderful book. If you want to know the excitement of research, how it could enlighten us, how it could delight us, how it could hurt us. Okay, So I would like you to read this graphic novel as well. Okay, so I stop there, and then I don't know how we can go about question answer sessions. Organizers will tell us about that.
So I think it was a wonderful session. Like it was like almost like you took us step by step with the ROL, the research review of literature. So where you started telling about how you have to build the ideas on the existing things which is already there, and recognize whatever is already told so that you can avoid plagiarism. That's, I think, as a scholar, we are more worried about the percentage of the plagiarism. So
Okay, I'll tell you about plagiarism tests
yes,
that are
sir.
done in our universities now.
Yeah.
There are a couple of softwares that are very good, like Authenticate and Turnitin are very good softwares for testing plagiarism. Okay, many universities used to have that, but they're a bit on the expensive side. Mysore University in Turnitin, it gives up to 25% permission. But then today, Mysore University is using Arkund. Okay, many universities are using Arkund today. Arkund is something that is not so good. It doesn't detect all that well. So what would be 15-20% in Turnitin? In Arkund, it would be 2 to 3%. Okay, that difference. But then it is good idea to get ourselves educated about these things, plagiarism. Now, easy way to avoid plagiarism is to acknowledge it. And then when we acknowledge, you build up. Like, there is a way to do it. You have to sit and think. You have to start writing and then talk to your supervisor. Now, let us say, how do you start? For example, a practical criticism session. A poem is given to you, unseen poem. Okay? And then you find it very difficult. So you can start by saying, it appears to be a very difficult poem at the first reading. Then you get your one piece of criticism already there. And then you can move from that. However, on second reading, we recognize this. Okay, still these things remain unclear. So you proceed like that. Now, if somebody has said something, if you acknowledge that, you will only add to your knowledge, and then that knowledge you are sharing. Review of literature is important for a few reasons. It is important because you are recording the existing knowledge, and then whoever is reading you is also reading your predecessors. Okay, that way you are helping them. Another thing, by properly documenting, you will actually guide them to the source, proper source. Okay, so most of the templates that I shared with you would be, you will find them available here, some of them here and a couple of them here, I think. Okay, I used most of the things from these two books. Okay, but then how we understand, how we grasp them is important. If you want me to put the templates on screen, I'll put them again one by one. You can take pictures of that. Would you like that? Okay, I'll do that.
Yes, sir, you can
Yes,
post.
sir. Yes, sir, you can do that.
Yeah, many requests had come.
This is one. Okay, sorry. Where do I keep this? I'm not so good with these things, you can recognize. Okay, this is the book. Okay, I'll go now one by one. See, here is illustration 1. You can, this is the joke. Yeah, if you say like this is what your readers or audience would be. If you say like this, they would say this. Okay, then we move to template 1. This is called template of templates, like general templates. This is how you can start and begin. So you have to fill in the gaps. Okay. Now, this is template 2. This is for template for introducing quotations. And this is template 3. This is template for explaining quotations. This is template 4 for review of literature or literature review. Overall, fine. Yeah, this is list of verbs to integrate. So you have to integrate your arguments, bring arguments together. This is one way of doing that. Okay. Yeah.
So there is one question. Can I read it out for you?
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Okay, just a moment. Okay.
Sir, could you please elaborate on how the related literature should be selected? Like, can we include reviews that are written much earlier, or should they be recent, within stipulated periods, say 5, 6 years, 7 years old?
Okay.
Or can it be on the basis of relation to the research topic?
Yeah, it has to be on the basis of its relation to the research topic. Most important. If it is unrelated to your topic, even if it is recent, it shouldn't matter. Okay. And then all those topics that are related to your research, the most recent one would be more important to be there. Okay, because that makes your research updated. Okay, now English literature is not so cutting edge in the sense we are not battling so much with time. Like, you know, when we are hearing what is going on with COVID research, vaccine research and all that, there they have to be so updated to the last minute, to the last hour. Okay, we can afford, okay, at least to the last year. Yeah. Suppose if something came out 1 year before your submission, it should be there in your research, in your thesis. If you're writing an article, yeah, even if something came a month ago, that needs to be there. That has to be there.
Okay. So one question is, do we have a website for the plagio check?
Actually, plagiarism check, there are some free websites like Wiper, okay, but the thing is, it sends a lot of windows, like pop-up windows, and then sometimes yeah, some of those challenges are there. Even for writing, there are now services, softwares like Grammarly and all that. But then, you know, plagiarism is something you learn to avoid it in writing short articles, and you will have learned to avoid it in your thesis at all, totally. And then here I would like to mention something. People also talk about self-plagiarism, this and that. Suppose you are writing your thesis, and then whether you can quote from your own article. You should be able to quote that. It is your own research, okay? But you know, we are too worried about things we shouldn't be worried. That is the problem. Somebody maybe about language and literature. I think Professor Chennai is going to talk to you about that tomorrow. Immense possibilities are there. Okay, we'll wait for that till tomorrow, and yeah, that is one thing. And then all the books, so many books are there. So many books are there. Very important ones. I told you, literature review, this is the best. And then for documentation, this is the best. Okay, and then for grammar and things like that, you can use, there are so many. Okay, I use this for grammar and things like that. But you know, I'll tell you something. Most of our knowledge comes from our reading. Okay, read a lot, read good articles, and then one advice, if I can share with you, okay, like one suggestion, a friendly advice. Okay, read slowly. Okay, don't be in a hurry when you read. That is what I do. I read slowly, especially if you are dealing with theory. You have to be really a slow reader. Sorry, and then that helps. That helps a lot. Okay, review of literature and annotated bibliography. Okay, annotated bibliography is just a list, and then it takes important points from that work and mentions. In review of literature, you are doing review of literature to develop your thesis. Annotated bibliography is to give a list of sources. Okay, just to help your reader to go to the source. But review of literature you do in your thesis or in your research paper to develop your argument. Okay, that is the difference.
So the next question, there is one, okay, annotated bibliography.
Yeah, a couple of questions. Just a moment, if you can hold. A couple of questions I got. Somebody wrote.
Yeah.
I'll just answer those. So no hard and fast rule to choose your topic. Some universities, some departments are traditional. For example, in our university, they came up with a rule that did not make sense to me. They said minimum 8 books should be taken up for PhD research. There are people who have done their research on just one book, James Joyce's Ulysses or T.S. Eliot's Wasteland. There are PhD theses on those. Okay, and no hard and fast rule. Undergraduates, can they publish research articles? Why not? There is no age limit, no age bars. Okay, undergraduates can do, grandparents can do, anybody can do. Okay. Okay, yes, please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, the question here is, it says, do we have to always use the first person speech in the review of literature, as we are talking about the research gap?
Okay, first person. Yeah. What happens in India, we have this top-down approach, and then people think if we use first person, that is, we are a bit audacious and things like that. Maybe many people discourage using first person pronoun. How to avoid pronoun is a trick. Okay, we can do that. And then plural pronoun is another thing that is safer. And then, there was just a question that popped up. When you agree, when you disagree. Yeah, like the thing is, you can disagree, but you should not be disagreeable. That's what Gerard Graff says. Okay, even when you say no, you should be pleasant. When you don't agree, you don't have to be harsh in dismissing. You don't have to dismiss. You can just swerve. You can just take a departure from that. You can say, this is all right. However, there is this problem. You support with evidence. Instead of using harsh, never ever use harsh words. Okay, don't be dismissive. Just say this perhaps doesn't strengthen the argument because we have this example. This argument may not be useful in understanding this because we have this evidence. So you build your arguments like that.
Yeah. So I have a question.
Sure.
So my question would be, like you told, like it was like literally you drew, the journey was from the first page till the last page, and you also told about how should we go about the quoting, how should we summarize, and we have to go with the first person or the third person or the past tense or the present tense. And you literally gave us every bit of the ROL research writing review of literature. My only question is, because I'm through with this my PhD, so my question is a very small question. How many pages should it actually constitute? Because it should not reach. There is some specifications like how many pages should the ROL be. So I think you can, if you
Yeah.
can throw a little light
Yeah.
upon.
Now these questions worry us a lot.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. My thesis was 220 pages, including bibliography and everything.
Okay.
Okay.
And the ROL?
Ideally 250 pages, they say, but I did my thesis on poetry, and then usually thesis on poetry is not very big. Poetry and criticism, we don't get very big thesis in this area, but
Okay.
but it's okay. 250 to 300 is ideal in my view. It should not look too thin. In science, it can. Okay. It can be very short because they can write in such dense language and their discoveries and things. It need not be elaborate, but in humanities, especially in languages, about 200 is decent. But if you can write very concisely, even 180 pages is okay. But then that concise writing, I don't know how many of us can really do it.
Yeah, that's a question. That's a challenge.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
The quality is important, yes, but then like thesis should look like, yeah, I can't show you the thesis of my researchers. Okay, I'll just pull out a couple of theses here. Okay, so that is mine, very old. Okay, in 2002. Yeah, 20 years old, my PhD thesis. Okay, this is one of my students' recent. Okay, see, this is much bigger than mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There are a couple of others there at the bottom. I can't pull them. Okay. So it ranges. Biggest my student has written is 410 pages or 412 pages. Okay. Shortest, of course, so far, yeah, 220, 230 pages. So usually MPhil dissertations are 80 to 120 pages. PhD 200. Okay. To this.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It was so informative.
Thank you, ma'am.
I will just, sir, my question is about theoretical framework.
Okay.
Example, post-colonialism. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, theoretical frameworks are important, and then it is always good to have a theoretical framework, but then we should not try too hard to read theory into our works. Some books open very neatly to theories. For example, Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart opens wonderfully to post-colonial criticism. It doesn't open so well to postmodernism. Okay, then if I'm trying to do postmodernist analysis of Chinua Achebe, people would wonder, why Chinua Achebe? Why not Tom Pynchon? Okay, why not Julian Barnes? Okay, like that. Some writers, some works open neatly to some theoretical frameworks, some to some others. Like we have to identify that. Yeah, again, I just want to tell you, when you want to disagree with somebody, when somebody challenges you, okay, one of my students worked on women and war. Okay, she explained how women suffered in war and all that. And a professor at NYU asked, men suffer more. Why are you talking about women suffering? So she defended, saying, this is not to say men don't suffer, but my focus is on how the women suffer. And of course, there are many theses on how men suffer. And then this area, how women suffer during war, has been neglected, and that gave me an opportunity to work on this neglected area. So that's how she defended. And when we choose our area, there should be something to say, like some unexplored area. If a writer has been neglected, it's a wonderful opportunity. Like John Donne and group were neglected until 20th century. I gave you that example. And how talking about them, Eliot became famous. Okay. Yeah. With that essay.
Yeah.
Physical knowledge.
So I think we'll take one last.
Katyani ma'am, one second. There is a few questions in Q&A box.
Okay. Okay. I'll just take a look at that.
How many literature reviews maximum to be done as a research scholar? Is there any number fixed?
Okay, there is no specific number, but let me tell you, if it is a thesis of 250 pages, if you have taken up, let us say 8 novels, this is just for example, each novel at least 10-15 writers, reviewers altogether. So that is 15 into 8, that many critics in your works cited. So works cited page for a 40-page chapter, works cited can be 3 pages. 3 pages would put, let us say 10 into 3, 30, 40 pages article, 30 people you quote, articles, reviews, thesis, all put together. Average, I'm just giving you, but yeah. Can you throw some light on interdisciplinary research? Okay, I talked about that. Could you please
the last one, which is the best, literature or ELT? Which is valid more? So you can actually personally answer the person. Or
okay. In ELT, many people carry survey method. Okay, about second language acquisition and things like that. It depends. Like if you want to be a language teacher, ELT would be very good. Like it is not to choose between the two. Like it would be wrong to say this is better and that is better. People do wonderful research. M.A.K. Halliday did a great research, great work in language studies. And then in literature studies, we know so many people have done. I don't know much about ELT actually. Like language acquisition is a fascinating thing. You have to do cognition, you have to study cognition and all that. Now it is a field that is progressing very well. Actually, there is more opportunity for that. There is computational linguistics, clinical linguistics. You have to integrate that and this. Then you can go forward with that. There is immense scope. If you look at job opportunities, for example, in Hong Kong or Brunei or Abu Dhabi, they would look at those who have done their PhD in linguistics or ELT. ELT, you need to have a good background of linguistics. Okay. Is there template for bibliographical research paper? Is there general format? Now, bibliographical, I don't know what bibliographical research, I think you mean by that, what work has been done on some writer, and then, yeah, you have to do either chronologically, the listing, or theme-wise, thematically, or genre-wise. I'm not sure if there is a template. And by the way, when you get this book, there is a blog. Okay, these writers keep a blog, and they are so proactive, research-oriented. You can put any question there. You can sort out anything you want to do there. Okay. Yeah, that blog would be a good idea to check. It would be a good place to check. So do we come to the end of our session with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, madam. Thanks a lot for having me today at your forum. It was wonderful. talking to you.
Yes, sir. So you actually spoke about how ROL is the biggest challenge in writing research for the PhD scholars.
Yes.
And you gave so much of insight thoughts. You actually made us, it was like a literally physically we were in your class there. Very enthusiastic. Like you showed us so many books, you gave us so many informations about it, and very, very interactive sessions. So I think you very patiently you answered all the questions.
Thank you. I'm
I have
delighted to
yeah.
hear that you liked. Okay.
So I would like to extend my vote of thanks in a formal way. Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am.
Akhila ma'am, shall I go ahead?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I
No
think
more
there are no more questions, even that I
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Please go ahead.
Good evening to one and all. It's an honor to me to have been asked to propose the vote of thanks on this occasion of research writing to publication, a 5-day workshop organized by English Department, Jain College, Vasvi campus. I'm extremely grateful for our chief speaker, the resource person of the day, Dr. Venkatesh Puttaya, who kindly accepted our humble invitation to be with us today. We had an opportunity to listen to your thoughts, sir, which will be a source of inspiration and showing new paths to the research writing. Thank you so much, sir. I extend my sincere thanks to our principal, Dr. Naveen Kumar CM, who provided all the support for us to make this event happen. The thoughts have enlightened us, sir. I mention with deep sense of appreciation to all the technical team, my sincere thanks to the members of the Department of English for their solid support. A big thanks to our audience who made this day a memorable for all of us. So thank you all of you. Tomorrow we would meet at 4 p.m. and the speaker for tomorrow will be Dr. Rajendra Channi. Kindly join us with the link sent and thank you one and all.
Thank you. I leave now. It was
Thank you,
wonderful.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure having you with us.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, to the participants, the feedback link has already been posted. Kindly look for it, and we will post it again if you have not received. Please fill in the feedback form. The session will not be ended unless you give the feedback form and submit it. We will wait. Dear participants, those who have submitted the feedback form can leave the meeting. If you have not received the feedback form, kindly stay. We'll be pasting the feedback form only in the session, not individually. So kindly stay here. I'll repost it if required.
You need to scroll up and find it.
I have reposted it.
It's here. Can I leave?
Yes, ma'am, you can leave. I will be there for some more time. Katyani, ma'am, you can leave.
Huh.
Thank you so much. It went well.
It went on well, is it?